Hi, I'm Dana Brigman. I'm a wellness educator for dogs and a dog trainer. I'm here to help you get proactive with your dog's health and natural wellness to save you money on vet visits, improve your dog's quality of life, and fully enjoy your well-behaved dog. Over the years, I sought many answers for why dogs were struggling with so many behavioral and health issues. I found some amazing answers in nutrition and natural wellness. My goal today is to leverage every available modality to help us achieve long-term results and a thriving, healthy, happy dog. Nothing brings me more joy than bringing a dog back into balance and giving that joy to his family. I'm Dana Brigman of the Canine Coach Carolinas. I hope you will enjoy this podcast series designed to help you learn more about nutrition, natural wellness, and behavior for your dog. Hi, these podcasts are for educational purposes only. We are not here to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any specific disease or illness. You are encouraged to do your own research and consult with your veterinarian or holistic practitioner regarding your pet's individual care. Good morning, everybody. I'm Dana Brigman from the Canine Coach Carolinas, and today I have with me my good friend, Sherry LaMarche. Sherry is a diamond leader with Young Living and also runs a holistic horse stable. Is that right, Sherry? I know you have a holistic wellness practice.
Yes, I do rehab. I used to do holistic boarding. It gets a little crazy sometimes. So I decided I wanted more one-on-one time and to be able to give back to the animal world.
Right.
Because when I was growing up, the ability to be, I lived in an Afghan kennel. My mom had anywhere from 30 to 50 Afghans at all times.
Oh, wow.
So in order to keep my sanity, I always say the dogs kept me alive, and I wasn't kidding. So my way of giving back to the animal world, now that I'm in this position in life and I can afford to do so, is I take in horses that humane societies and vets, etc., need some help with. Maybe they need some longer term care, or they can't afford to work with them, or whatever. And that's what I like to do, is to take in a couple at a time, rebuild them to the best that they can. Some can be ridden, some can't. It really depends on whether it's an emotional or physical issue.
Right.
And that's what I do.
Right. And you still have some love for the German Shepherd breed, right? You're doing some rehab work with them too, yes?
Yes, German Shepherds have my heart. So,
all right.
I work with a couple of, I work with right now one Shepherd rescue out of Kentucky, Tear Haven, that I just absolutely love. And they use the oils like I do. So they understand what I'm looking for, and what the oils can do. And if they have a problem, we talk the same language on rescues and things, and what's working or not working for them.
Awesome. Well, I want to come back to that in a couple of minutes, how we introduce this notion of essential oils to these rescue groups and dog mamas or horse lovers. And because I know there's a lot of confusion out there. So we're going to come back to that topic in a couple minutes. But tell me how you got started with essential oils, and what was it about them that led you to sort of sticking with it and then introducing that into your holistic wellness work with the horses?
I think the biggest thing that got me started on the oils was to prove them wrong. Sounds a little strange, but I had tried oils from the health food store, and they were just stinky potpourri to me. And it was like, no, I don't want that fake smell. So when someone offered them to me at a horse fair, I was like, you got to be kidding me. And she just kept harping at me a little bit, and it's like, okay, fine, I'll do it. Just kind of got rid of her, kind of thing.
Right.
Something what you do to kind of like, move on now, darling. And I mentioned that I had a little bit of a headache, etc., and that's the worst thing you can do sometimes, because somebody will give you anything to help you.
Sure.
They gave me lavender, and I was like, yeah, lavender, really? Less than 5 minutes, my headache's gone.
Wow.
I can't absorb an aspirin that fast. Acupuncture takes longer.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, this is different. What is this stuff? So I kind of set about to because it stumped me, like kind of prove it wrong. Like, is it too good to be true? Is it just this weird coincidence or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what got me started. And it's just my own reaction to something. And the more I tried it with me, the more I was like, well, I've heard you can do the same thing with the animals. And when I started was 20 years ago. So there wasn't a lot of the internet crap that's out there.
Right. All the
You know,
noise.
and I'm saying internet crap, but it's true for the quality of oils they're using.
Mm-hmm.
I would be afraid of essential oils using the quality that I've seen out there. If you're going to buy them at TJ Maxx or the gas station or Walmart, or it's all synthetic junk, you know. So I get where some of the people are coming from and all the warnings and all that. But it's just like food. If you're going to eat all of the crap, you're going to have problems. You go for better food, organic vegetables and things like that. You don't have to put warnings out on that food.
Mm-hmm.
It's the crap food that's giving us problems. Same thing kind of in essential oils.
Right. So what was it that made you, so I know your headache went away.
Mm-hmm.
And if any of your friends or people were like my friends in my circle of dog trainers, they're like, that was all in your mind, Dana. You just believed it to be different, right? It was sort of this psychological thing with me. And I kept saying, no, but this is really different. There's breakthrough moments that I've not been able to achieve otherwise. And I'm seeing some amazing results. What was it? What did you find to be that difference between those mega retailer brands and Young Living?
Well, first of all, the experience itself, I didn't want it to be true.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted her to go away. I didn't really want it to work because I didn't really want to, I wasn't drawn to her. And it worked anyway. So it wasn't in my mind.
Uh-huh.
You know, so what I ended up doing is the person that I talked to said, well, you know, why don't you take some home and try them? See if they work for you. Do it at your own pace. And I'm like, fair. So that's what I did.
Yeah.
You know, back then they had their little 7 kit, and I took them home and I tried them 9 ways to Sunday and went to 1 or 2 classes just to get some ideas. And so, I mean, so I'd use them correctly.
Sure.
And once they worked on me, I tried them on the horses. Animals don't lie. They're not going to tell you, yes, they work when they don't. You know? Right. There's no agenda there with an animal. So that is how I knew they worked. I knew if I tried some of the other stuff, they didn't work.
Right. Did you begin trying them with the horses from an emotional perspective, a spiritual perspective, or did you also know at that time that there were some real wellness benefits to their health with the oils?
Oh, Lord, I tried them 9 ways to Sunday, hon. I mean, physical issues, first aid stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I've had vets come out for an emergency and say, what did you drug the horse with? And I'm like, I didn't. I gave it this oil. Mm-hmm. And the vet looked at me like, what? I'm like, here, I'll give you some. Go try it for yourself. That's how I got so many vets on my team.
There you go. That's awesome. And I love those vets on your team. I like them all. Yeah, that's awesome. When you were working with, so when you started this work with the horses, for example, or these rescue dogs that you have, were you worried about the side effects or any problems that you might have experienced based on your previous knowledge? Because I think a lot of people come at this with what was your first experience of, it was all synthetic, it didn't work, I didn't like it, didn't feel good. Why am I going to try this on my dog? Or why am I going to try this on my cat? Or, you know, whatever. And that there's a layer of fear for trying these non-traditional modalities?
Two things come to mind. What I teach people to do is use them on themselves first.
Mm-hmm.
They learn how to use them. They learn if they put a hot oil on, how to dilute it. So they get a little bit of experience themselves. And I'm not going to usually can give them a hot oil the first time around anyway.
Right.
And when you're using them around your animals, you can put the oils on you and your animals get the benefits. You don't have to put them on them.
Right.
You can put them in a diffuser, you can put them in the carpeting, you can put them in the beds. I mean, there's so many different ways to learn to use them without fear. I mean, fear is simply generally done by people that don't know about it,
Mm-hmm.
or people that have had bad experiences when they've used really poor quality oils.
Right.
So they go on the internet and they're like, oh my God, this is going to kill your animal.
Yes.
Well, don't use the crop.
Right.
It's
Right.
pretty simple.
Yeah.
You know? And it's hard because people think you're just talking about marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Or you just want to sell your oil. And I'm like, do you really think the $4 I'm going to make on this bottle of oil is going to make, I'm going to push it down your throat to sell it that hard? No. I want you to see the good benefits. I want you to see what your animals can get out of this because I've seen it already.
Yeah.
And the stuff's all guaranteed.
Yeah.
You don't like it, you send it back.
So when you were introducing these notions of first aid or physical relief, say in the joints or the muscles or, you know, those kinds of things that many of our rescue animals come with, did you meet resistance from some of the rescue members or directors, foster homes, whatever?
Not really, because I showed them on their bodies first. So they knew what to expect.
Yeah.
Or what to see.
Okay.
And, you know, the reference materials are out there for them so they can look it up when you go away. They have my phone numbers. They can text me. They can call me, whatever. If I haven't, if there's an issue, I'll walk them through it.
Right.
You know, when I teach raindrop on horses, I want you to come to my farm. Come use my animals. They're used to it. So if you goof up, I can tell you what to do. And my animals are just going to look at them like another newbie,
Right.
you know, and it's not a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And those are all the hot oils. So we teach them how to do it so that there's no problem.
Yeah. So speaking of the raindrop, can you share with this audience what you find to be beneficial about raindrop? I talk about it all the time, and I'm not sure that I land that message exactly as well as I ought to. So can you share with us your love of the raindrop and what you've seen it do?
I can do some, and you're trying to keep this FDA compliant, so I can't go into really in-depth work unless it was on an individual phone call where I'm talking with someone. I can't do it with the laws of commercial speech. So I've seen huge benefits, especially in horses where you've always got a compensatory limb, and as well with dogs. So if somebody's got an issue going on, it's not just the issue in that one appendage. The diagonal limb is also going to have issues. So when I'm doing raindrop, I am working literally on all of the limbs first. I'm opening the channels of elimination so the animal can let go of whatever is stagnant and stuck in those meridians. And that can be so many different things, whether it's chemical things, whether it's critters you don't want, you know, hitchhikers on them you don't want there, whether it's emotions. And I've seen such differences in animals that just couldn't get well. It's awesome. And again, I come at it from the human aspect first. Let me show you what it's like. I'll do that on you.
Mm-hmm.
I'll teach you how to do it.
Right.
I don't want to come in and work on every one of your animals. I will teach you how to do it. And you work on your animals because you guys have that connection, that bond that I don't have.
Yeah.
I
Raindrops
mean,
are one of my favorite things to do. I love
Mhm.
it. I love seeing the results of it. I love the experience that the animal and the human have sometimes together, and
Mhm.
it's
Yep.
just an amazing, amazing thing.
There are a couple different books out there that talk about your animal is your mirror.
Mm-hmm.
And dogs very often are the mirror of what's unspoken, what's going on in the home. Whether there's fear going on or anger going on that's unsaid, or the cat's peeing on so and so's pillow. Okay, somebody's pissed off, you're not seeing it. So if it's a physical issue, like a lot of veterinarians will tell you, diabetic dogs have diabetic owners. So when you're working on the raindrop, that owner is getting treated as well.
Right.
So the animal doesn't have to experience it to get the owner to pay attention to their own health.
Yeah. So
I
can
was told a long time ago that animals used to hunt for us. They used to be security for us. They actually, their way of giving back to us. And we don't do that with them anymore. So now what they do is literally mirror back things that we need to see.
right. And we don't always listen. Right. We don't always step back and go, what's the story here? What is the richer, deeper story? What is the
Bigger picture.
yeah, what do I need to learn here? What do I need to take away from this? And we too often,
Mhm.
I think, go, oh, the dog's got a limp. Let's go to the vet. Let's get some medication, and we go back. And it's not resolved, right? We sort of get into these cycles. So have you had, I know you have, but sharing in any experiences about what the universe is trying to teach us or what our animals are trying to teach us and how we can slow down and listen better?
I think it's, again, taking a look at the animals in your life and the patterns. I have had a few horses come in from one owner. I had 5 horses come in after the owner died. All 5 horses were lame in the same joint, in the same leg.
Wow.
Mhm. Yep. Let's see what else. I've had severely abused horses come in. I had one come in from Mexican rodeo, and they're extremely hard on their horses. And it was a stallion that was owned by a Mexican trainer. The horse adopted the stature and the emotions of the Mexican man. The pride, the whole, testosterone, the whole thing. He acted exactly like this gentleman. The horse couldn't even stand well, but this is how he portrayed himself. So as we started to work with him and started to get him healthier, I had a chiropractor come out that did a lot of emotional release work. And we're going to do a little bit of raindrop. And she said, he won't talk to me. He won't talk to me at all about any emotions, nothing. It's no, that's not to be discussed. So we had to go really slow with him and put the oils on us. So it wasn't like we were trying to do it to him.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, on us, he could come close to us or go away. So in a sense, we were doing it for him, not to him.
Mm-hmm.
So every horse that comes in has got a different story.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you see the same thing with dogs.
100%. And I keep working to teach more about, we're often presented with some description of a problem. Usually a singular problem is what's described to me, even in the dog's behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And what's really happening is so much bigger,
Mm-hmm.
right? So much more is factored into the resolution. And people often say, but I just want training. I just want you to train my dog. I just want you to fix this problem. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I can, but it's a bigger approach to the whole animal, not just that thing that you think you see. There's more going on.
Well, the vets feel that. How many times does an owner come in and go, give me a pill to fix that?
Mm-hmm.
I have a hot spot. Give me a pill to fix it. Well, we can fix this, but it's caused by something else. And if you fix this, you're going to push disease deeper into the animal, and it's going to manifest as a deeper, more worse, so to speak, disease. Disease meaning lack of ease. So look at the bigger picture of what's going on. It's always that way, and it's us with us too.
Right.
You can see such a difference between the older generations that of people that just go to the doc and give me a pill, give me a shot. I don't want to better my diet. I don't want to change anything. I want to be able to eat all the junk food and not react to it. Well, what do you mean I'm pre-diabetic now?
Right.
You know, and that's the whole thing starts rolling down the hill, and it doesn't get better because they don't address what's below all of that.
Right. The emotional root. And that's one of the things that, like when I listen to Candace or go back and look at a Zyto and pull out Carolyn Main's book, that our wellness issues, things that we think are medical, for lack of a better word, they have a correlating emotional root to them. And that's part of what I think these oils allow us to tap into and to start to achieve wellness in a way that simply medication alone cannot.
It's an awesome book by Dr. David Hawkins, and it's called Power versus Force. He talks about frequency.
Okay.
And he tells you what emotions are at what frequency.
Oh.
So if you are stuck in shame, blame, fear, any of the lower emotions that keep you hyper vigilant, then you're going to bring things to you. Kind of like, you know, how two bells, if they're in the same room, they'll start vibrating at the same speed. So wherever you're vibrating, that's what you're calling to you. So if you're in shame, blame, or fear, you're going to bring in more things to be afraid about. So when you have these things, you will manifest disease, dis-ease, that have some of those same things. Louise Hayes talks about that in her human books.
Right.
Which body part? You know, I don't remember if it's hips or knees, one of the two. It's, you know, the inability to go forward. And if you're on the left side, it's a feminine issue, or with a feminine person, same thing, you know, with animals. So you can kind of start looking at that and going, okay, why did dis-ease come in and go to my liver? Well, if you're a very angry personality and your anger is a great cover up for fear, it's going to be in those two meridians. And that's where you're going to have manifestations of that, and those meridians will show injury patterns. I mean, why do dogs all of a sudden have CCL problems like crazy, or ACL problems? They didn't used to have stuff like that.
Right. They didn't used to have aggression like they have today. They didn't used to have anxiety like they used to have today. I mean, even in just my lifetime, I've seen major transitions in animal behavior that I never saw when I was a teenager, for example. I mean, just never.
You've got rabies miasm with the aggression. Dr. Jean Dodd speaks to that all the time. And the liver has to cope with so much more these days.
Right.
It used to, when we were in our 20s and 30s and all kind of stuff, the world wasn't quite as toxic as it is now. Glyphosate has made such a huge difference and impact in our world. When you look at collagen, glycine is one of the amino acids that makes up 30% of collagen. Glyphosate knocks out glycine. Well, that's a lot of tissues that are all in structure. Why is everyone on this collagen thing now? Everybody wants collagen. Well, it's because we're finding out that ours isn't working really well.
Right. We've destroyed it.
Well, it's in the food we eat. Glyphosate is now in the air.
Right.
In air samples. It's in the water. It's water soluble. So when someone says, oh, it disappears. No, it's water soluble. It doesn't disappear. It goes into your water supply. Now you're drinking it. Oh, it doesn't affect the human body. It affects all of the enzyme systems that are used by the bacteria that feed us and break down our food. If we didn't have those bacteria, we can't absorb our own food.
Mm-hmm.
So we're killing the bacteria, and we all have food absorption issues.
Right. And our pets do too. Our animals do too.
Oh, animal food, dog food can have 100 times more glyphosate than human food can. That's why I stopped feeding grains to dogs.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not something like a little bit of organic rice or quinoa, some of those amaranth, I don't feed that stuff. I don't feed grain to my horses for the same reasons. You know, I'm trying to rebuild them. Why would I want to hurt them at the same time?
Right. That makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. So let's circle back to our early stuff. So we have all these issues, emotional issues, nutritional issues. And I know, and you know, that oils can really help us move back into that wellness category, right? I know we often talk in our training teams a lot about above the wellness line or moving towards wellness versus working on disease. Instead of working on disease, we work on achieving wellness. Can you see what that means to you and how the oils play a role in that?
Okay. Step one, stop the junk.
Mm-hmm.
That's A1. So that's all the stuff we were talking about earlier. So when you stop putting the garbage in, you can start letting the body heal. So now let's take in things like one of the things I found really cool when I was walking the fields with Gary Young, and we were talking about because he knew I had a farm as well, and I'm like, well, what do you do? You know, what would you do for this? I said, I'm surrounded by Roundup.
By
Goes,
Roundup. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, by Roundup, glyphosate. And he goes, Digest takes that out of the field. Oh, really? Interesting. Thank you. So that's something that my body can use.
Yes.
And I can use, I have oils in my horse food every day.
So did I just hear you correctly? And if I need to edit this, I will. Did they use Digest in the field?
Young Living doesn't have to because they own their own fields. They're not surrounded by it.
Yes.
By glyphosate. He was giving me ideas of what I could do in mine.
I understand.
But he mentioned that they have found that Digest took this out of the field.
Amazing.
I don't know amounts. I don't know any of the things. I'm just telling you what I was told. So that's something, you know, and I know a lot of people garden with essential oils.
Yeah. It must have been really special to be able to walk fields with him and sit around the fireplace and have all these conversations of just his knowledge and experience and the things that he figured out, right? Because this was not stuff, maybe our ancestors knew it more, but I don't think anybody was actively teaching a lot of this stuff that he mastered just through his life.
He pioneered a lot. He pioneered not only the finding the plants, he pioneered exactly how to distill them, what was the right temperature, what was the right time, how long did the plant have to lay in the field for a little while, did it have to go directly in? And he would do so many different ways and to see what would give them the best levels of the constituents he was going for. And he studied Turkey. He went to Bulgaria. He spent time in France. He would go at the feet of the masters, literally. And they didn't take him seriously at first. So he had to prove himself to the masters. So he learned a lot. And he took us, when you get to a certain level in Young Living, they would take the diamonds and above on these trips. So I got to go to Oman. They showed us the frankincense trail.
Wow.
We went up into the really high hills out in the desert, and you could see the distilling area and the cement tubs they had and the old fixtures they had. It was so cool. And then he would take us to Ecuador, so we could see how the plants grew, and we could see the difference between a lang lang when you pick it at perfection versus 4 hours later when most people would come out to pull that because that's when their shift started.
Mhm.
but it makes a huge difference in the chemistry of the plant, which makes a huge difference in your oil.
Right.
And so he wanted us to learn this stuff and to see why we're different.
Yeah. And I find that stuff extremely fascinating. And I am completely aware of the amazement of that. I
Yeah.
don't know that most people who are thinking about their essential oils, or even selling or certainly the ones that you buy at the mega retailer, that's even in the line of thinking. And I think that's where the magic happens. I think that's where, when you tried to prove them wrong, you couldn't, because there was something very special about the energetics and the spirituality of that.
When you look, we did this at one of the conventions. When you looked under dark field microscopy with Young Living oils, you'll see in the benzene rings the electrons still spinning. When we say Young Living, we're not kidding.
Mm-hmm.
And then they put slides up of some of the other brands that were out there. There's then one little electron kind of buzzing around. That's about it. And I don't have dark field microscopy that I could take to my classes.
Right.
But what I do when I do in-person classes is I'll pick maybe 4 different varieties of oils, and I'll pick anywhere from 6 to 10 different companies.
Yeah.
And I'll bring them in. Here, you smell them. You tell me the difference in quality. Most people can tell it almost immediately, but they can't always tell it days apart. In other words, if they smelled something Wednesday, they may not remember to compare it to something on Friday.
Right.
But if I put them all in a row, they're like, wow, yeah. Then they get it.
Yeah.
And then I'll put like a lavender plant. It's the same species, so they get an idea. Which one smells like the plant? Well, this one's got a chemical overtone. Oh, really? Why would that be?
Yeah, the first time I smelled Young Living's lavender, I'm like, that smells like dirt. And I do not love the scent of lavender. I think it's because or at least I had been so used to this sweet fragrance that was not a real fragrance, right?
Yeah.
It's what they wanted us to think lavender smells like. And yet what it really smells like is very earthy, very, very, it smells like ground, so it's got a floral tone to it, but for me I smell dirt. So
did you also notice when you started Young Living till now, your whole sense of smell has changed?
Oh, totally. 100%.
We'll literally go in and clean that whole area of all those petrochemical crappy smells that stick to your fat cells.
Yes. I no longer have headaches. I used to be a junkie of candles and wax melts and all that kind of stuff in my house because I had dogs and I felt like I needed to make the house smell good. And never connected that that was part of the reason I was having headaches. Never connected that was the reason I was having hormone issues, and wound up having a complete hysterectomy at like 35 years old, but it's all. And now if I walk in, which I don't do anymore, those stores that sell those things or a home that's got that in them, I can't go there.
There was a store, I don't even know if they're in business anymore, called Kirkland's or something. Yeah. I can't even get in the front door.
Right.
I was like, oh my God, what are you doing?
Yep. And I went to a restaurant not too long ago, and it smelled so much of bleach that I couldn't eat. I said, we cannot be here. It was awful.
Yep.
So
that's the only time I'm extremely thankful for masking.
Yes.
It's like, oh my God, you guys, do you know what you're doing to your lungs?
Yeah. Yeah.
But then that's, you want to talk rescue. That's what a lot of rescues use because they say they're mandated to do that. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, you need to clean up after your cleaners then, if that's what you're going to do. Right. We need some Fuse cleaner in here to get rid of this bleach smell.
Yeah. When I had my
animals, but for
when I had my board and train facility and had finally gotten wise about Young Living and the cleaning products, that's what we had. A bottle of the other stuff on the shelf when the inspector came. But we use the Thieves stuff for everyday use, and what a world of difference, right? I mean,
Yeah.
completely better for all of us involved in the animals too. So
Dogs didn't go home with a particular cough that they do at some of the other places, did they?
Exactly. One
Yep.
came into my kennel building with it after having been at a boarding facility the week prior.
Oh.
We managed to diffuse oils for respiratory support in the kennel with guardian permission. Obviously, they knew what I was up to. And knocked that out within less than 24 hours, and none of the rest of them were affected. So,
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I do in the barns. If I get a horse in that's got something going on, in the middle of winter, I'm not opening up the barn at minus 20 degrees or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I have 3 diffusers going, and we'll put them, as close as we can to the horse, and put tons of immune enhancing oils in the foods that they eat. So they're getting it internally, they're getting it in the lungs, and it's just a world of difference.
Yes.
And nobody else gets it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I was going to touch on, and if you have time, we'll continue, but our supplements and things like Ninja Red. So I know you have this great photo of your horse drinking Ninja Red straight from the bottle, and I giggle at it every time I see that photo. But why is that drink supplement so beneficial for all of us, including our animals?
Ninja is a really high protein fruit with a low glycemic load. So it's been known to be called diabetic safe. Well, I've had horses that are insulin resistant and high Cushing levels.
Mm-hmm.
So just as in people, we have to be careful if you've got a high diabetic with eyes. And I had a horse that had some issues, and they said, oh, she's going to be blind. And I'm like, let her be. And they said, well, if you don't start using steroids, and I said, if I start using steroids, I won't have a liver. She can do without an eye. She can't do without a liver. So let me work with this and let me see what happens. They came back years later to prove me wrong. And they said, oh my God, her eye still has dilation. I'm like, yes, it does. Yes, it does. She lived to be 30 something. So bless her. We never could get her sugars under control, even on Pergolide. So that helped her maintain what health she had. So it wasn't a painful issue for her.
Mm-hmm.
I'll use it for horses that are colicking, where they can't eat food because there's a blockage.
Yeah.
It gives them the energy and the nutrition that they need to be able to push past this, because not all owners can afford colic surgery.
Right.
I've got dogs on it. My shepherds have had both. I've had 2 shepherds that have had cancer before. And I want some good liquid nutrition that does not support cancer, that supports their body, and the taste is easy to get down.
Right.
I don't have to worry about that.
My dogs love it. And I almost can't drink enough of it. I tell people all the time, you spend your money on wine, I spend mine on Ninja Red. It's all good. And I'm working, it's better for me than the other alternatives. So I justify it quite easily. So
actually, most wines are extremely high in Roundup.
Yeah.
People just don't realize.
Right.
So yeah, I'll stick with Ninja.
Mm-hmm. And what
there's a lot of,
I'm sorry?
I have a lot of supplements that I use, especially for my shepherds. Agile Ease. I mean, my guys are 12 and 13. They still like to chase horses occasionally and do stupid things. So support for them, especially for that hind end, is huge. Cardiogize for my 13-year-old. Every now and then I'll hear this, little kind of cardiac cough. And I'm like, I kind of want to support that a little bit. Yeah. Let's give her some CoQ10 and some good stuff, just like I would for me.
Well, and one of the things for me is, and that's the thing, I know that these products with few exceptions in the dogs, for example, and I'm not sure about the horses, but we can use the same products. You know, it's one-stop shopping for me with, I don't have to think about, do I trust this brand or who did I order that from last time? I can tend to get everything I need from one-stop shopping and take advantage of all the incentive offerings that are available to us. So I love that. But we often talk about oil infused supplements and why they are better. And so, can you speak to what bioavailability means to you, or what an oily infused supplement does that the over the counter stuff cannot?
Two things. One, people will come in and go, well, I'm taking this herb already. And I'm like, well, does it have an essential oil mixed with it? Well, no. Herbs depend upon digestion. Digestion for most people and animals right now is very compromised compared to what it used to be. So you might be, you might have a really, really healthy septic tank, but it may not get in your animal. Just because it gets in the gut doesn't mean it gets in the tissues, unfortunately. There is a lipid layer around cells, and the essential oils tend to soften that or be attracted to that lipid layer. So it can literally carry the nutrition to that cell and help that cell take it in. So much easier.
Awesome. Okay. I know we're running short on time, so I'll let you just wrap it up. But is there any key takeaway that our animal lovers, equestrian riders, rescue homes, foster home, dog mamas, what would you like them to take away from our discussion and the things that are possible for them?
I think just realize the things that you have in your home really affect your animals. And it's not just your emotional state and give them a couple of extra pats on the head. The chemicals that you're using to clean your home. I mean, these dogs live at that level. They're breathing in these chemicals all day long. You come and go. They're stuck there. They depend on you for nutrition. They depend on you to do these things and take care of them. And they're going to love you no matter what. However, I will tell you, your vet bills alone, if you change to something which is more holistic, are going to be so much more affordable. When my one dog went in with cancer, a week later, I had a $13,000 cancer bill.
Ooh.
Believe me, lots of things changed. And we thought we were holistic then. We didn't realize because we were still doing a really high grade kibble. Needless to say, no kibble in the house anymore.
Right.
But when you know better, you got to do better. You can't just go, oh, I just don't have the money. Well, if you stop buying some of the junk, you'll have money for things. And that's kind of what really got me started with the oils. I was in manufacturing sales and I saw manufacturing going south 20 years ago. It's like companies were leaving for other countries. And I told the universe, I need to find a way to be able to support myself and my animals. But it has to be a gradual shift for me. I can't just quit one job and another week later start. So when I started using the oils and the people saw the differences in their animals, they started talking to other people. And I didn't, the nutcase that I was at that particular time, I was really not paying attention to the business side of oils. I didn't even know it was an MLM. And if I did, I probably wouldn't have looked at it because I had such a bad taste from all those other ones that were out there. But when you make a difference and you give it to someone, it makes a difference for them and it makes a difference for the next person. And you benefit financially as well as knowing you're helping that animal. I mean, how much better can it get?
Right.
I'm making money and I'm making a difference. So if you don't have enough money to take care of your animals, start looking at some different ways of being able to do that. Whether if the oils work really well and you're like, oh man, I want to share this with people. Awesome. talk to us. We'll show you how to do that. We don't want you to be salesy. We don't want you to canvass your neighbors or, corner them at the grocery store. That's not what we're about,
Right.
but we can
But
make a difference for you.
It's easy to share. And I think it's hard to share in these Facebook groups sometimes because just like you said, we're bound by so much of the compliance rules. But if we can have a one-on-one dialogue, right? You and I, or them and you, or whoever, have a chat. There's so much information that's available to help people start making these transitions.
Yeah, and we can tell you, hey, in this position, this is what I did, and here's the result I got. Let me loan you a diffuser.
Right.
See if it makes a difference.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you to come in and buy thousands of dollars of stock to try it out. That's not my goal.
Right.
My goal is to help you change into a non-toxic home that supports yourself and your animals.
Yeah. And my goal is that they don't wait until they're in just sheer desperation, that they begin now and learn so that when they do come upon some first aid crisis or some future medical diagnosis, that fear we talked about early on is not present because they've watched you with the stories that you can tell, or me with some of the ones of my cases that, or other people in our groups. And that's one of the things that I love about the internal education groups that we have that allow us to go, wow, never even knew that was possible, but let me see how that applies to my family, my pets, and otherwise.
Oh, yeah. And I'm still learning.
Yeah.
There's new oils that come out and it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that oil's an adaptogen.
Yes.
Whether it's high or low, it brings you back to homeostasis. Well, that's pretty cool. And it's like, oh, and you start talking to other people that are like, well, I got off 5 meds. Well, that makes a difference in somebody's life financially.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, just kind of learn a little bit and open your mind.
Yeah.
You'd be amazed by what these can do.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Sherry. Is there any last parting word before I end our recording?
Party word. Hold on, Dana.
Hold on.
You got it, girl.
I've got a line of them here, a wall full there, a wall full. There's some in the bed. They're all over the house. They're everywhere. Keep on oiling. All right.
Whatever oil you have, if you've got something going on, try it. Don't think you got to wait and find the right one.
That's right.
It's the one you got.
Intention is everything. Yep. Okay, Sherry, thank you so much for your time. I have loved this and invite you to come back anytime you like.
Perfect. Thanks, Dana.
Hi, I'm Dana Brigman of the Canine Coach Carolinas. You can find me on the internet at caninecoach.dog. That's letter K, number 9, coach.dog. You can also find me on Facebook at the Canine Coach Carolinas, or in our group that is designed to teach dog mamas just like you more about nutrition, essential oils, homeopathy, and other areas of natural wellness. We want you to learn all that you can to keep your dog happy, healthy, and thriving. I hope to see you in our group soon.